Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is your boy Action Jack, and this is Gaming Grounds. I came across a great idea that I wanted to present to you guys and see what you think. Right now, you should see on your screen is a slight list that I created that's currently in PDF form right now, and it spans from Gen 4 all the way down to Gen 8. The reason why I did not include Gen 9 is because only the Nintendo Switch is currently within that gen up until 2020 2020 holiday. Then we'll have PS5 and Xbox Scarlet that come along to join Nintendo in that generation. But I wanted to make this list to not only get a good idea for myself of what companies could actually assist with what I'm thinking, but to also try to see at what point did we see a downfall in a sports genre. And my idea was, should Nintendo do much in the same vein of what Sega did with the Dreamcast and create their own sports franchise? As you all may know, Dreamcast came out, EA said hell no, and so Sega was left to reach out to Visual Concepts and also assist with making some of those games, whether it was basketball with NBA 2K, football with NFL 2K, hockey with NHL 2K. They still had their virtual tennis series that they had, brought over from the arcades, but they were trying to cover all spreads as far as sports goes. So I see Nintendo, and of course we only have, for the most part, 2K and EA at this point, but we used to have a lot more in the sense of sports, and I'm not talking about just your main sports. I'm even speaking on the grounds of snowboarding, skateboarding, and so far and so on. So before I start this video, or start this list rather, one thing that's going to be excluded are the games of Wii Sports, Connect Sports, as well as racing games. So you won't see a Mario Kart, you won't see Gran Turismo, you won't see Forza on this list. So let's go ahead and get this list kicked off, starting with the 4th gen. And like I said, it's not going to be every series that was on that gen, because Gen 4 had a lot of sports games, just tons and tons of games. I even saw there was a Mega Man soccer game. But when you're looking at the basketball franchises, that was mainly Midway and EA at that time, because Midway was still bringing stuff over from the arcade. For those of you that were in the arcade, you do know that systems were not the go-to for the most part when it came to graphical fidelity, great sounds and things of that nature. Whilst the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis did a great job, arcades were still the place to go to. So you got a dumbed down version of NBA Jam. NBA Live was not an arcade, so that was something coming from EA. That was a nice rendition as far as basketball went, moving from the Bulls versus the Celtics, Jordan versus Bird, and just a bunch of games that were very pixelated, and it was kind of hard to make out who the characters were. But EA brought us a true simulation in the sense, with a little bit of arcade parts to it, in the sense of NBA Live. EA also brought us, the NHL series, which I was surprised to see how long this series really has been going. And if I'm not mistaken, started off on Sega Genesis first and then went on to be on both Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. We've had Acclaim and Capcom with the WWF and the Saturday Night Slam Master series, which also came from the arcades as well. Acclaim came again with the King Griffey Jr. And I don't remember who did the Cal Ripken Jr. I forgot to look that up. But I used to love playing Cal Ripken Jr. baseball as well as King Griffey Jr. baseball. EA once again with Madden. Tecmo came in with the Tecmo Super Bowl, and then there was also Quarterback Club that was out at the moment too when it came down to football. Silicon Dreams with the Olympic Games. Nintendo with Super Tennis before we had Mario Tennis. Konami and Factor 5 along with Nintendo when it came down to International Superstar Soccer and Super Soccer. And then we're going to cap it off with boxing with Super Punch-Out. So going further in, I'm not going to read it verbatim. If you guys want to look over this list and to see the series that I have listed here, then you can pause the video and then just kind of look at it from there. But as you see, going from Gen 4 into 5, we kind of extend on the sports genre. We go and add in snowboarding, skateboarding. What else did we add? We added bowling as well. I'm pretty sure there was probably bowling games on Super Nintendo. and Sega, but at the time I really didn't see any that came up, and I didn't remember any off the top of my head. So when you look at it, instantly you see basketball took a significant jump in who was providing basketball games. Before, we showed just EA and Midway. Now we have EA, Midway, Acclaim, Konami, and 989 Studios. So EA, of course, continued to provide us with live, but then now you got Kobe Courtside, you got In the Zone, Shootout, NBA Action, College Slam, NBA Jam, NBA Showtime, NBA Hang Time. Like, these were games that were still making that transition from arcade to console. And with consoles getting into the whole 3D realm within Gen 5, they were getting closer than ever in the sense of arcade. But then hockey, you know, you kind of had your faces that were making games at the time, like Wayne Gretzky. Wrestling, as you see, had tons of studios. I mean, yeah, we know of Ukes, we know of THQ, and as of right now, we know of 2K. Midway was involved, Acclaim, even a Simpsons wrestling game, which I found was funny, with Big 8 Productions. We went into baseball to where, look at this. Right now, I think we have, MLB The Show? EA started off with Triple Play before they actually got into the name of MLB The Show. I used to love playing bottom of the ninth on my PlayStation. I used to love it. Ken Griffey Jr., All-Star Baseball, World Series Baseball. But you see what I'm getting at, where it comes down to more football games, Olympics, tennis, the whole 9 yards. So as we go further down into Gen 5 and we start adding in golf a little bit more, which I am aware that there are golf games on the NES, Super Nintendo, stuff like that, we get into what I deem as the golden era, which is Gen 6 with the Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. To where this is where things truly took off. And when I mentioned earlier in the video, to where Sega had to make their own franchises. So at this point, we have NBA 2K that's now involved, as you see right here. But that didn't take other series away. That's just actually added more series. And then you start seeing more of an inclusion with college sports. And it was just amazing if you're a basketball fan. You had so much variety to pick from, whether it was good or bad. Because NBA Starting 5 was pure trash. But you had the option to find out if it was pure trash. I loved Inside Drive. Inside Drive was my go-to game. These were games, Street Series, like, you can just keep going on days for days with basketball games. The wrestling series picked up heavy at this point in time with PS2, with the SmackDown series. It picked up heavy with the Def Jam series. I just, it just kept going and going and going. Baseball, as you see, picked up dramatically. Football was still going. Of course, Olympics is just going to be Olympics. Oh, my bad. Olympics is just going to be the Olympics at this point. I don't foresee too many people really having a license to do too much in regards to Olympics. Tennis was, tennis. You still had your Top Spin, Virtua Tennis from Sega, as well as Mario Power Tennis, which I believe the tennis game was introduced in the 64, so Gen 5. A diverse pick for soccer. Boxing. This is where we got our introduction for boxing for the most part. Of course, you had the Holyfield series back on Sega, but when we're talking about like truly doing boxing, this is where EA really came in to, handle business in the sense of changing from the Knockout King series to the Fight Night series. Ready to Rumble from Dreamcast. This was just an arcade go-to game. So if you wanted to take things serious, Fight Night. If you wanted the arcade Ready to Rumble, but you had options. And, looking at this list, you guys can easily see what I'm saying. And you see this huge decline from Gen 6 to Gen 7. And it just gets real scarce real fast, especially in the basketball department. By this time, WWE had bought up everything up under the sun that could be deemed competition. And so there were just WWE games on the Wii, PS3, and the 360. Baseball really wasn't too much of competition because EA had dropped out at this point. So there was no MVP baseball anymore. So it was just 2K, Sony, and Bandai Namco at this point, in the sense of the big series, MLB 2K, Mario Super Sluggers, and MLB The Show. Football still had some type of competition at this point. EA had gotten the NFL license, so 2K had to go the all pro football route. There were still collegiate football games and also baseball games at this time, if I'm not mistaken. So I may be wrong with the baseball scene with EA, because I think they still had a collegiate baseball game, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, just going into, like I said, boxing, snowboarding with the SSX series, the AMP series that came from Microsoft, Stoked, Shaun White had his own series. Tony Hawk was still around. The Skate series got introduced at this point in time on the 360. And as you see, if you haven't stopped this video to take a look, the consistency of Brunswick Pro for bowling, they literally are holding the crown for bowling every generation. Like, Farsight Studios is not letting go of bowling whatsoever. And as I was going through this list, totally forgot how much EA ruled the golfing scene as well with Tiger Woods. And it, of course, due to his, own personal life, that series kind of dropped off. But it's just amazing how much EA ran this entire list when it came to sports, regardless of what generation you looked at. Specifically, the 7th and the 6th gen. EA literally had their thumb on every sport. Not saying they were the best series in each sport, but they had something within damn near every sport. So we get down to the previous generation, which is the final one on this list, and you see how little, like, look at this. Like, we literally have 3 series if you truly want to count NBA Playgrounds. We have 2K Live and Playgrounds. NHL is the only hockey series. WWE, still the only wrestling game. As far as baseball goes, as far as, like, I guess you could say really good simulation type baseball, you have MLB The Show, and that's about it. Super Mega Baseball is a great game, but it's not, like MLB The Show. RBI Baseball is trash. When you come to football, the only simulation you have is Madden. Mutant Football is awesome. Blood Bowl, cool. But it's not a simulation game where I'm not even asking for realistic names. I'm asking for just a true simulation football game. Olympics has now succumbed to just Mario and Sonic at this point. Tennis games is literally Mario Tennis and Tennis World Tour. Soccer is still FIFA and PES for the most part, and I threw Rocket League in there just because it does have something to do with soccer. But if we want to be serious, it's literally just FIFA and PES. There are no more boxing games. Boxing is out the window. UFC at this point has taken over some type of popularity, as well as wrestling. Even though it's always been popular, boxing was kind of up there as well. But boxing, in a sense, has kind of fallen off, and EA, for the most part, were the only ones doing it. So yeah, boxing is out the window unless you want to say that, Nintendo's in that realm with Punch-Out. But even then, that's not your true blue, create a character, take them through, get the belt, regardless of what weight class you're in, and that deep type of boxing game. Ubisoft with Steep for snowboarding. There's no more SSX. There's no more Cool Boarders. There's no more Snow Kids. There's no more of any of that. Like, those are gone. As far as skateboarding, Tony Hawk, I think, released Tony Hawk 5. Tony Hawk series was Tony Hawk 5, but that game was trash. And the Tony Hawk series is no more at this point. All we have now that's on this list is Ollie Ollie. And I think there's 2 versions of that. There's, Ollie Ollie 1 and 2. As I said, Farsight's holding up bowling tight. They're the only ones left at this point. Volleyball games, Spike Volleyball, Black Sheep Studio. I have never heard of this game. I literally had to look it up to see what in the hell it was about. There are no more BMX games, so there's no more Dave Mirra. There's no more MX anything. Like, it's gone. Golf. Everybody's Golf, which I think is also Hot Shot Golf. And then I didn't even know EA had made another golf game with Rory McIlroy. PGA Tour. Had no clue. And it's on the PS4. I don't know how great it is. I might have to look up a video and see what it's about. But yeah. And then, of course, we cap it out with UFC. Yeah, this is pretty sad. But to get back on topic in regards to what exactly it is that I'm looking at, and based off of this entire list that I've looked over and looked at all these games, I really think Nintendo could reach out to either Konami, reach out to Yuke's, Midway, and also Acclaim. Those were pretty heavy names in the sports genre to pretty much compete with EA. They really could compete with EA, and that's about the best studios I think they could go to really hold up a sports genre. Not to mention if they can get on with AKI, to where we see like Kenny Omega really pushing forward for this AEW game to actually come to life. So if we get AEW, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a multi-platform type game, so they don't really have to worry about wrestling. But in regards to like your actual sports games where it comes down to basketball, baseball, football, hockey, soccer, or whatever else, golf if you want to, UFC, boxing, Nintendo's going to have to go out and really look for other companies. And the reason why I say that is no one's really trying anymore. No one's taking a risk. These sports have not gone anywhere. These sports are not, they're not at that point to where people don't pay them any attention. People still watch boxing. People still watch UFC. People still watch football, still watch basketball, still watch baseball, and then even racing, even though it's not included on this list. So there's a fan base there. There are people that literally buy consoles specifically to get the newest 2K, the newest Madden every single year, the newest FIFA every single year. So they'll pay for a $400, $500 console for one genre, for one specific title every single time. They'll pick up a 2K every year, and these games don't have to be annual. Nintendo can spread this out and really do it the right way. I think EA and 2K are burning out these games by releasing them annually. I don't know what's within these contracts, but from what I'm seeing, it's not necessary. And it's kind of the thing that killed EA big in a sense. So looking at this list, you guys let me know what you think. Do you think Nintendo should reach out and get their own sports division, call it NSports, like it used to say on the N64 box, or, call it something different? But do you think Nintendo should get into the sports realm, to get a little bit more eyes on Nintendo on something different outside of, platformers and things of that nature? But yeah, so it's been your boy Action Jack. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Also, let me know what you think on Twitter. And you guys have a good day. Peace.